Alright, this is a walkthrough of activity 13-1, installing Internet Information Services and other associated services that this component, this application, will support. In particular, FTP, Internet Information Services, which is IIS, which is the web server, IPP, news service, and web services. So we're going to go ahead and install this. You've actually installed this before, but just the IIS component as application server. So we're going to say administrative tools, actually we'll say, control panel. We'll say add and remove programs. We'll go and maximize that. We'll say add and remove Windows components. And if you recall from previous sections, we uninstalled IIS. And it's under application server. We'll hit details. We'll see Internet Information Server, we'll say details, and this is the box that it wants us to actually go through and read the description. So we have bits, we have common files for IIS, we have FTP, which supports FTP uploads and downloads, front page for web authoring in Microsoft InterDev, which has been renamed something else, Internet Information Services Manager, which is the administrative front end for MMC, to control IIS, IPP, Internet Protocol-based printing, news server, simple mail transfer protocol service, so it can deal with basic sending of emails, and World Wide Web services, which is the heart and soul of the HTTP service. So we're going to select the following components. This is now part 6 of 13-1. We want to say common files, we want to say FTP, and notice that it automatically checked Internet Information Services. We want IPP, we want news server, it basically mimics and allows us to set up for Usenet, and we want SMTP. So those should be the different sections that we've had: common, FTP, IIS, IPP, IIS management, NNTP, SMTP, and World Wide Web services. We'll say OK. We'll say OK, and we'll say next, and it's now going to configure and install all the different options that we've just set up. So this is just like what we did before, only we're installing a larger suite of what would be a typical intranet server. We may not actually use the NNTP. That's not a function really used much nowadays, now with vlogs and blogs and things like that, which are more HTML based, so IIS core files would support most of that. Okay, and we're done. And it'll finish up, and now we have we'll just verify that, yeah, in fact, because the check mark says it's installed, we're not changing anything, and it's going to see that nothing's changed. We'll say finish, and we'll say exit. One thing it did not prompt is the source files, because they were not required, but even if they were, we had the install media already mounted in our D drive, so it automatically probably pulled those anyways. So we're done. This concludes our walkthrough of, actually we'll go ahead and look at this real quick. One of the differences that you will see in the system after you're done is you'll see this iNet public. iNet publishing server is the primary location for all of your Internet Information Server files and any websites that you're publishing on there. Any if you're going to do a single site or multiple sites hosted off the same IP server, which we'll cover later, and we'll set up multiple sites with the same IP using ports, IP ports, to distinguish them. Those kind of things have to be set up in DNS, which we won't cover in these examples, I don't believe. But if you're going to set up an internet server, this is primarily going to be for an intranet server, not something to be put out on the web proper. That would be much more involved, and really there's a separate Microsoft certification exam and curriculum for setting up IIS, which has now become ISS since 2003 was released. And this pretty much concludes our walkthrough of Activity 13-2.